hey, look, no one's here. Let me fix that. Guess what? Everyone can see us except they can't actually see us, but they can hear us, Kevin. They can hear us. They know that we're people that exist, that are here. Hello, everybody. As you can tell, when Ryan runs the stream instead of Sean, you get the garbage truck that's on fire, pretty much. That's what we're going for here at Carpool Gaming. But that, you know what, Kevin? That's why we do the pre-show, because if anything screws up, it's better it happens during the pre-show rather than the full show.
Mm-hmm. We were doing a community game night the other night, and we were like, "Oh, we're going live at 6," and then we think we got live at like 6:45.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, you guys were struggling, but again, that's the first time you guys have really done something like that, though. So of course you're gonna run into problems, anyways. Whereas, how many times have I done this before, and still screw it up from time to time? So at least this time I made sure to check that YouTube wasn't looking for like a 1440p stream. Like it was every time I tried to stream last week, and I had to create a new like YouTube link and everything for that, which was fun. It was just lovely. But Kevin, you're filling in for Sean today. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm good. I got I don't know if I got allergies and my eyes keep watering a little bit, but like I'm pushing through, pounding vitamin C. Let me tell you, I don't know if it does anything at this point, but I'm going for it.
So if I say something and it makes it look like you're tearing up, it's not that you're actually just sad at what I said. It's just because you have your allergies. I get it. I get that you're prefacing that now because of course, I'm going to say something to make you sad. Of course, just looking at TPR's question. Of course, that's what's going to happen.
I'm thinking. Oh man, don't hurt me, Ryan.
But that's the point of the question. That's what he wants. He has chosen violence today, Kevin, not me.
He's a sadist. I tell you, like. I'll listen to No Limits and he'll just take shots at me. And I'm like, bro, what are we doing here?
Well, he is the PlayStation show, though. I mean, but clearly that's something we don't do enough of here at Carpool, where the PlayStation Drive, doesn't take enough shots at the Nintendo Drive or the Xbox Drive, to be a real podcast.
Everyone's too nice.
Well, a lot of us are Canadians, so it kind of makes sense anyways. But yeah, with all that out of the way, we've got some people in here. I think we may as well get the show on the road. What do you think, Kevin?
Sounds good to me.
Cool. And there's no yelling this week, by the way, because there's no Sean here. So I'm gonna roll the intro. Stay stand by, everybody.
No power greater than X.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the 200 and Nintendo 64th episode of the Xbox Drive. I'm one of your hosts, the weatherman on the moose, Ryan Turford, and I'm joined for the first time in a fortnight by the Muffin Mon himself, Kevin Ainsworth, filling in for Sean Capri, who's on his way to Extra Life this weekend. But Kevin, first of all, welcome back to the show. How are you today?
Great. Yes, Sean is away, so I'm filling in. He's actually in well, not where I am exactly, but in my state where I come from, New York. So I will see him very shortly in a few days. But I'm doing well, Ryan. Thanks for the invite. Happy to be back on the Xbox Drive.
Absolutely. I think we're going to have like a pretty fun show today. It's mostly going to probably be us talking about games and stuff like that. But yeah, it's also crazy to think about, it's only going to be like a short jaunt for you to go to Extra Life this weekend. But somehow you're available today, but Sean Capri's not, even though you guys are going to the same event on Friday. Suspicious. I see how it is.
I think he has to take some planes and some trains, and I'm more like hop in the car and drive like an hour and a half. So.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, he doesn't have the option even that I did, because like when I was planning to go, because I am unfortunately not able to go this time, but my plan was actually to basically take the train from Toronto here all the way to Rome, New York. So it was like one train that basically went all the way there. So even that was a little more convenient.
How long is that train ride?
Oh, only 8 hours. It's fine. But when you factor in the fact that I would have had to take a 4-hour train from New York City to get to Rome anyways, regardless of whether or not I flew there, and then it's a 2-hour flight from here to New York. Like at that point, it's like, well, you're basically cutting out, instead of running around the airport and then traveling from the airport in, New York City to the train station, you just cut all that out. You just take one mode of transportation all the way there, which is neat. But yeah, anyways, let's get into the Xbox Drive proper. But before we start talking about the show, let's clean the garage a little bit. So folks at home, if you want to support the show, there's a number of awesome ways to do that. Number one, if you're watching the live stream right now over at youtube.com/carpoolgaming. Or if you're watching the video on demand later, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and then ding, 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 ring that notification bell to be notified whenever we go live, like this live stream right now, or whenever we put up a new video on the channel, just like our God of War Ragnarok review, which is going up tomorrow. So make sure to come back to the channel tomorrow to see what we have to say about God of War Ragnarok. I'm excited for people to see what we have to say about this game. But also, if you're listening on audio feeds, don't forget to, rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or if you're listening on those platforms, or if you're just listening on any other platform, don't forget to at least subscribe to the channel as well. Also, if you want our shows a little bit early, or if you want some exclusive content like the 4-episode of Sweet Hangs, head on over to our Patreon, patreon.com/carpoolgaming. Throw a little tip in the old tip jar, and out comes content. Also, if you want an Xbox Drive t-shirt or another Carpool Gaming branded t-shirt, you can head over to our merch store, bit.ly/CPG merch. And then last but not least on the docket, Extra Life is 3 days away. It is happening on Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, then going to 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time the next day. See what I did there? Because there's a time change that's happening this weekend, getting you for that extra hour. But Kevin over here is going to be there. TPR is going to be there. Sean Capri is going to be there. Mr. Badbit, Kyle Stevenson from the Trophy Room, all going to be there in Rome, New York, as well as, probably like 95 other people, at least according to Sean at this point. But we are helping raise money for Extra Life. So extra-life.org/participant/save the carpool trophy if you want to donate towards us, because we've come together with our friends at Save the Game Media, with Kevin over here, as well as the Trophy Room, and of course us at Carpool Gaming. We've got some really excellent prizes we're giving away as well. If you're interested in donating, including a God of War Ragnarok Collector's Edition, a Final Fantasy XIV Endwalker's Collector's Box. That thing's like $500 because there's like 1,000 of them in print. A copy of God of War Ragnarok, as well as, tons of Game Pass codes from our friends at Xbox Canada, as well as a whole bunch of other cool stuff. Surprises is what Sean likes to coin, the term he's coined there. But look out for that this weekend. Go ahead, Kevin.
And Ryan, you didn't mention the best prize. Some might say the best prize. If we hit our goal of 5,000, Joe from the Trophy Room has said that he will shave his head and dress up as Kratos on the next Trophy Room episode.
That's true. That's a good prize. But also, you, Kevin, forgot to bring up the other best prize, which is if we hit the 5,000 goal, Sean Capri will set his profile picture on Twitter to Jar Jar Binks for 6 months. So, because Lucklev actually made this really cool kind of mock-up of Jar Jar Binks with like, it's a me, Sean Capri. And that'll be Sean's thumbnail on Twitter if we make it all together.
You summoned him as soon as you met. He showed up in the chat as soon as you mentioned Sean. He knew. It's a me stuff.
He even threw in the Jar Jar quote. I'm still proud of Sean, getting over his fear of Jar Jar at this point. Well, we're getting so close to our goal, because our goal was 5,000, and last time I checked, we were like 3,200. So we're going to get there. I think we're going to get there at this point. But also, on top of all this, originally, as I mentioned, I was supposed to be at the event, and I'm unable to make it. But because I'm unable to make it this weekend, I actually wanted to get the fundraising started a little bit early. So I'm actually going to be doing 2 12-hour live streams starting tomorrow at noon Eastern Daylight Time, and then going until midnight. And I'm basically going to be doing the same thing on Friday as well, to kind of, help raise money as well, and kind of get us closer to that $5,000 goal. And we've got to beat those Nintendo dads. We've got to bury them, Kevin. It's over for them.
Now, I don't know anything about the Nintendo dads, except that Sean has pulled us into this rivalry with them. And I'm all for it, okay? As I said, we're going to crush them. I'm sure they're lovely people, but I don't know that for a fact. So donate to us instead of them, and then you get to see Sean Capri as Jar Jar Binks for 6 months.
Yeah, but yeah, we should totally do that. But Sean asked the question: can you do the live stream from a couch? Well, I have a green screen, Sean. I could probably make that happen. I can make a fake couch out of a JPEG or something like that to sit on. But there you go. So look out for that this weekend. It's finally here. It's been, again, like 6 months of planning at this point. So make sure to come on out to watch Extra Life. If you're not going to be there in person, at least come and watch the stream anyways. But anyways, let's grab our 8 tracks, pop them in. It is time for the playlist. And Kevin, as you can tell, it's review season. There's a bajillion games out right now. And I saw Alex Van Aken, actually, friend of the show, tweet about this on Twitter last night, being like, man, I was telling my wife that review season would be over by the time, the holidays rolls around. And clearly that's not the case. It's basically, we're in like month 1 of like a 5-month review season for just all these games that are coming out. So Kevin, with all that out of the way, what did you play this week, my friend? Because I know, again, there's lots of games out there we can talk about.
Yeah, so I actually can talk about this game now. It is review season. The embargo dropped earlier today, and if you want my full thoughts, you can go over to Save the Game Media and check out my review. But the Entropy Center, Ryan, is a game that I've played for the last week, and this game is one of the best games I've played this year. Ooh. No lie. I fell in love with this game. So for anyone unfamiliar, it is very inspired by Portal. So if you like it, it's simply a puzzle game. There's no combat. It's just doing puzzles. You get a gun that allows you to move cubes, and there's different types of cubes, like jumping cubes, bridge cubes, laser cubes. But essentially the premise is you solve puzzles to generate energy, and with this gun you can rewind time. So that's a big mechanic in the puzzle solving. So you'll put a cube one location and rewind it to where it was previously, maybe to activate a switch or give you a bridge. So if I absolutely loved it. There's a good story here about like what you do with the energy, saving the world, a good AI companion, which is hilarious along the way. It's very much Portal inspired and doesn't try to hide any of its like inspirations. But I absolutely adored this game. I can't speak highly enough of it. Shout out to PlayStack and Stubby Games for giving me the code for it, but definitely a sleeper hit. I think an indie game that everyone should keep an eye out. And I'm glad that other people, because I've seen some other reviews, feel similarly to me. It's getting pretty good reviews right off the bat.
Nice. That's awesome. And first of all, I got to say, that's got to be pretty high praise, coming from you. Because I know, we joke about this in the Discord all the time, but like you and I are like two of the people that probably play, the most games in our community between the two of us. I think, in fact, actually, Kevin, probably between the two of us, we've probably played like every major game that's come out this year at this point. If
God of War Ragnarok will be number 82 for me.
Jesus Christ. That's too many games, Kevin. But I mean, my total is probably only like 60 to 70 games. I haven't really, done like I haven't been keeping track of it in official sense like you, but that's awesome here. I might have to, what platforms is that? Xbox, PlayStation?
It's coming out tomorrow. It's on Xbox, PlayStation, and PC. So no Switch, just the major consoles. It does have a PS5, Series X, and X version. So I will have those. And I mean, I didn't have any issues playing with it. It was a fantastic experience. I don't know the price point is the only thing, because even now when you go to the store, it just says wish list.
Yeah.
And I recommended it, but that's with the caveat. I think this is probably like a $40 game at max, I think.
Yeah, I would imagine by what you described, it's probably not like a full price game or anything like that.
No, I would struggle to think.
I've seen a lot with, a lot of indie games that are coming out. For example, there's one I'm really excited about later this month, or actually, I guess now I think it's next week actually. The new game from Z-Boyd Games, the company that made Cosmic Star Hero, and they're doing like a Shakespeare-inspired Sailor Moon RPG. And it looks really awesome. It's coming to Steam next week, but it's just like wishlist on Steam, and you'll know what the price is basically when it comes out, next week, kind of thing. So yeah, I've been seeing that a lot. So yeah, and likewise on Xbox too. With most indie games, they don't usually go up for pre-order. So most ID and Xbox games just show up on the store the day of, kind of thing.
Yeah, there isn't even a page on Xbox right now for this game, because how I was popping achievements and I was like, I'm gonna go to the store page and see if and there's no store page. So I'm like, all right, whatever. Other than that though, I have finished. And by finished, I mean I got the 100% last night for A Plague Tale Requiem.
Nice.
I was going through it, and I had beaten it, and then I did my New Game Plus run, and I only needed one achievement. Then I got this review, so I was on the back burner. So I wanted to knock that out. It was the secret chest one where I had to just go open all the 10 secret chests, and it was annoying because the achievements, like the achievement reads to me, as long as I open them, then it counts. But you have to open them all on one save file, which it didn't tell you. So I did the New Game Plus run, just kept going, and nothing was counting, and I was very frustrated. But once I figured that out, it took about 15 minutes, just chapter select, pop in, open them. So that's my game of the year right now. Tell you what, maybe Ragnarok will change that, but I absolutely love that game, as everyone says.
I mean, I'm just saddened that Elden Ring's just out of contention for you now at this point. It's going to be something else.
I'm not playing Elden Ring.
Oh, come on. Everyone wants to play Elden Ring, Kevin. It's the funny thing is you've played 86 games this year and you haven't played Elden Ring. So, which is funny to think about.
Hopple constantly tries to get me to play it. Like I won a Xbox gift card from a giveaway, and he was like, "You can buy Elden Ring with that." I'm like, "Or I could not buy Elden Ring with that." So it's very much I just don't Souls games don't jive with me.
I'm in the same boat, which is why again, like I gave it a chance, played it for 30 hours, and I was like, yeah, I got enough out of this to really know that I enjoyed it. But there you go. Well, as for me, I played a whole bunch of stuff this week, Kevin. So we're going to actually start it off with Overwatch 2. I'm wearing my Overwatch hat today, of course. I've been playing a ton of Overwatch 2 over the last month and a half, so you probably didn't need me to say it. But of course, I'm playing more Overwatch 2. But the reason I wanted to mention it, and the reason why I wanted to talk about Overwatch just a teensy bit on the show, is because the Halloween event for Overwatch happened this week. And normally I'm like super happy for whenever there's an event that comes to Overwatch, like a seasonal event, whether it's the summer games or the Christmas events and stuff like that, because I love all the cosmetics that it brings along with it, and also a lot of the extra modes as well. This time around they had the Bride of Junkenstein's Revenge, which was like a 4-player co-op mode that you could actually play. It's kind of like a horde mode, but in Overwatch, and they give you specific heroes you can play as. It's basically, this time around, it was the 3 new heroes. So, Kiriko, Sojourn, and then, what's her face? The Japanese healer. But then they also gave you just another character on top of that. And those were the 4 characters you could basically choose from to do that mode, which was fine. It was okay. Like, I've never been a huge fan of, the horde modes in Overwatch. But the reason why I'm a little bit bummed out about this Halloween event is something that comes down to something I've talked about on the show before with Overwatch 2, where I don't really love the way that the free-to-play model kind of works in this game, where essentially everyone has access to the Battle Pass, just like in most other free-to-play games. And of course, you can buy the premium version of the Battle Pass to get premium skins there, but you don't really earn like nearly enough currency to get any of the other skins that you get in the game. So it's time for a Halloween event like this one that comes around. They introduced a bunch of cool new skins for Kiriko and some of the other heroes. But they were like $30 to buy the skins, like 30 real world dollars when you did the conversion to the currency. And I was like, at this point, I'm not going to look forward to any of these events at this point unless they seriously change this model, because everyone kind of ends up with all the same stuff in Overwatch now, because you don't have the loot boxes from before. And say what you will about loot boxes, I actually think the loot boxes on Overwatch was a better system for rewarding you from playing the game, or rewarding you with cosmetics, than what they have in the game now. Like, I definitely think that what they've got in the game now isn't really working, or it's just too expensive. Like, when you compare it to something like Fortnite or Fall Guys, like whenever I go to the Fall Guys store and there's a new skin up, like they're pretty reasonably priced. They're like, $7 or $8, I think, for those. And even Fortnite skins don't even approach the $20 mark. So I think it hurts the game a lot more, just hurts my excitement for events like this, with the monetization model kind of as it is. Because at this point, I've played Overwatch 2 since its release last month for about 40 to 50 hours, and I've earned 100 gold coins at this point, and you need 2,800 to get the Halloween skins. Yeah. So I've basically earned $1. I've basically earned $1 in Overwatch 2 to buy skins.
I didn't know it was that bad. I saw people asking for the loot boxes back, but I didn't realize it was $30 a skin. And I was over here, Multiverses, so they have $20 skins, and I was like, that's way too much, which apparently isn't, because my brother, who's much more, plays Genshin Impact all the time, he tells me this is very much the normal price for skins these days is $20, and I cannot fathom that. That is crazy to me.
But the crazier thing in Genshin Impact and Multiverses, though, is that you can actually see your character. In Overwatch, it's a first-person game, so you can, unless you're emoting or you're dead, you can't see your character. Or if you're the play of the game highlight person. So at that point, it almost doesn't matter what your character looks like. It's like you get some sound clips that come with it, for example. But even then, you got to buy a lot of that stuff too on top of that. So it's just like, it's a situation that unfortunately I just don't love. And again, it just when you hear that people would rather just have the loot boxes back versus what you got now, you know that you've got a bit of a problem there with the way you progress, where you earn things in this game. But
yeah, for sure. And you mentioned Fall Guys. I know I haven't bought anything, but I've just played the game, and I have enough for like one of the legendary, like premium DLC, whatever skins, like maybe the Ghostbuster one that they're going to put in. I don't know what I'm going to spend it on. I'm waiting for something that really piques my interest.
Yeah, I think that's a really good example of a game that really does a great job of rewarding you with in-game currency so you can buy, something every once in a while. Whereas like this, basically, I have to play Overwatch 2 for a year before I'll be able to buy one skin at this point without having to pay for it.
Halloween.
Next Halloween, I can save up for whatever Halloween
one skin
comes out. And again, it's not even just the new costumes that are that priced. It's also the old costumes are that you could buy in Overwatch 2 using the in-current currency are also kind of in that price range as well. So it's very, very silly. But also last week on Thursday, I played The Sims 4 on stream, Kevin. I don't know if you knew this, and I had to at least mention it here because people had been asking and begging for this for months and months and months and months, and it finally happened, of course. And I still have to play some more Sims for As Per My Bet with Sean Capri, so I still got another 8 hours I still got to put in with The Sims. But people finally can stop asking what my sim looks like, because there's a video up there on the channel if you don't want to go check that out. But I didn't really have any new kind of progression because I'm playing something for review right now, while also playing the other two games I'm about to talk about. So I didn't get to play too much more outside of the stream that I did on Thursday last week. But I also wanted to mention it here so people can go check out that video if they're interested and they missed the live stream as well. But then the other two games are new games that I'm going to talk about here. And of course I hit my microphone while I'm doing that. I'm going to start with Resident Evil 8 Gold Edition is out with it, which is basically like the Game of the Year edition for Resident Evil 8. And I haven't really played this game since it came out last year. I really liked Resident Evil 8 last year when I played it. It was one of my favorite games from last year too. But with the Gold Edition, what they added is the ability to play the game in third person. So I've actually been replaying Resident Evil Village in third person because there's also a DLC chapter that came out after that I really want to play called Shadows of Rose, where you play as Ethan Winters, the main character from 8's daughter. And you kind of explore her story after the events of the main game. But in order to replay it again, I kind of want to play through the full game first. But I gotta say, I'm having a blast going back to Resident Evil 8 and playing it in third person because it feels like a different game in a good way. Like I actually love playing this game in third person. I think it's really, really cool. And what they do with the cutscenes itself is they still make them immersive by having the cutscenes be in first person and still, having that first person feel like when, Lady Demetress picks you up in one of the scenes earlier in the game and, pins you, throws you up on the wall kind of thing. Like that's still all in first person. And then when you take control again of Ethan again, it's in third person. But I love just the idea of just changing the camera and adding that option, just making it feel like a completely different game in so many ways. So it actually plays more like something like Resident Evil 2 or 3 remake now versus what we experienced last year with Village. So I'm going to keep at that, and I've been really enjoying it in third person. So likewise, I know there's people out there listening that have never that didn't play Resident Evil 8 because they don't like first person Resident Evil. Like that's been a common sentiment about people, and now you don't have to worry about that with the Gold Edition. So I'd say it's a worthy pickup. And then the last game I've been playing, of course, I have to mention at least one RPG on the show, Kevin. So
yeah, I've been waiting to hear about this one.
I have been playing Star Ocean: The Divine Force. I mentioned a couple times, I'm the one person at Carpool Gaming that's willing to jump on this game and check it out because, I've played the previous Star Ocean games before and, they're either usually really good or really bad. And there's not really like an in-between for a lot of these games. And this one, I think, is actually one of the better ones. So what they did with this game is it's actually more like a Tales game as far as the combat and the exploration goes, where just like in the Tales games, you have like an AP gauge because you have like combo based attacks based on whatever character you can controlling. And of course you can control anyone in your party, and they usually actually control quite differently to each other. Again, similar to something like Tales of Arise, where all the characters feel very different from each other. But as you're performing combos, you only have a certain number of combo points that you can use in combat. Again, very similar to, something like Tales of Arise. So it's just interesting that they, like, it feels like someone at Square Enix was definitely playing, the Tales games or played Tales of Arise and was like, hey, we could do that with a game, and let's try that with Star Ocean. Because that's pretty much what they did with this game. The story is just, it's okay. It's fine. Basically, you can either choose to play as one of two characters, and depending on which character you choose, certain events in the story take place differently, where you'll follow that character as they go off and do something while the other playable character is off doing something else. And one of the main characters is from space. His ship kind of crash lands on this alien planet, but the alien planet is like in medieval times, essentially, as far as its technology works. So he's pulling out like a communicator, like a phone and stuff like that. And people are like, what sorcery is this? So you get a lot of that throughout the story. But a lot of the characters and stuff, like, I like the character models themselves, but the storytelling's really wooden. Like, they don't really like move their mouths in a good way to kind of line up with the dialogue. Like, it feels a little like B tier as far as the storytelling is concerned. But the combat is fast and fluid and actually pretty fun. You actually get a device called the Duma, which is kind of like this very fancy, alien backpack that allows you to fly around because it has like jet propulsion on it. So you can, like, when you're exploring the environment, you can use it to reach like high up places, or just use it to get around the maps like very, very quickly. And then in battle, you can use it to either shield your character or use it to fly up in the area and then get a backstab on an enemy, even if you've already initiated combat with them, which then gives you kind of a bunch of bonuses and perks that kind of layer on top of each other. So the combat itself is actually quite complicated to describe, which again, I'm not fully going into it here. But again, if you've played a Tales game before, like it plays like the Tales combat in a good way. Like, so I've actually been enjoying the combat a lot. The story is okay, but I'm like 15 to 20 hours into this game and been enjoying it a lot more than other Star Ocean games. I think this is, if I had to just say now before the ending, and again, I plan on doing kind of a review for this when I finish the game, but if I had to kind of guess now, this is probably in like my top 3 or top 4 Star Ocean games. Like, it's definitely better than the 360 Star Ocean game that we got. It's better than the PS4 one, which was terrible. And I think it's probably even better than the PS2 Star Ocean game, but I don't think it's as good as like the first 2 PlayStation 1 turn-based Star Ocean games. But I've been really enjoying this one, and I think it's pretty fun if you're a JRPG fan. And it's totally lost in like this sea of games that we're getting.
Yeah. I forgot it came out, to be honest. Like, it's one of those Square titles that we had. Diofield Chronicles, which I loved, and I know you also liked. Then we had Valkyrie Elysium, which I played the demo, and I do plan to play it at some point.
Yeah. That's a wait on sale, but that's a really good one too if you like stuff like Bayonetta or Devil May Cry.
That's what I'm waiting for. So would you say you're enjoying Star Ocean more than Valkyrie Elysium?
I think the story is better in Star Ocean, but I think the combat was better in Valkyrie Elysium.
Okay. Well, because you're selling me on it, you're describing it by Tales. You know what I appreciate, all right?
That's
Tales
true. But
series.
Valkyrie Elysium's combat felt like playing Ninja Gaiden, which is actually like my favorite style of game. So for me personally, that's why I was more attracted to it, but the combat-wise. But at the same time, I think the combat itself in this game is really good, which is why, like, if you take everything into consideration, this is probably a better game than Valkyrie Elysium.
Okay.
Yeah.
How long is it?
It's supposed to be like 60 hours long, so I'm not even close to finishing.
Okay. Do I need to play the other Star Ocean games because I haven't played any of them?
No, because they're all kind of standalone, and they all kind of follow the same formula too, where you're a person that crash lands on an alien planet, and that alien planet is what you explore. And in different games, the different alien planets usually have are at a different space, technology wise. So this one again feels like more of like the fantasy style Tales settings, but then you've got characters that you've got a character in your party that's an android, or one of your other characters that's got like a space laser and stuff like that. So yeah,
I think I will add this to my wait for sale list then.
Yeah.
Because I do think I would enjoy it. I just don't know if I would enjoy it for $60.
Yeah.
Because
Well, likewise too. For this one, there's also a demo out for it as well, and the progress carries over to the full game. So if you're interested in checking it out,
okay,
there is a demo that's out there both on Xbox and PlayStation as well. So definitely.
That's something I love Square's doing is these demos that carry over to the full game. Yeah. Love it. Need more of it.
Now, the only downside to the demo in this game in particular, though, is that it locks you from selecting the other playable character. So if you want to play the other playable character as like your character for the playthrough, you have to not use your demo save data to carry over. But at the same time, depending on your playstyle, you might prefer the character that's in the demo because he's like a two-handed sword kind of character. So he has like slower attacks, but they're heavier attacks. Whereas the other character who I'm playing as, which is Leticia, she has like two short swords, so she's like a fast attacker, and I'm like zooming around the battlefield and stuff as her, which is pretty cool. But yeah, all the characters are like super different from each other too, because like there's one character which is your support character. She has a bell. She can't even attack the enemies at all. But so her attack combos are like different support skills that and spells that you cast on your party members, which is like a really interesting way to play the game if you wanted to try something like completely different from other games out there, which again is kind of how I felt about playing like Rinwell in Tales of Arise as well, kind of a similar feeling as well. So there you go.
Awesome.
That's Star Ocean, the Divine Force, and again I'll be talking about it more as I get closer to finishing it. But yeah, this is probably a wait for sale as well, especially with so many games out right now. But anyways, let's slam the brakes on this conversation about games. It is time for some breaking news, and it's game review season, so we just don't have like a ton of stories at this point, but we got 3 that I think are worth talking about here. So let's talk about the Game Pass drops for November got announced, and we got a ton to go through here. Starting off today, we've got The Legend of Tiding and The Walking Dead and New Frontier and Michonne for PC. We know those were coming because they announced them last month, both the ones I just read off there, but we finally got them coming out today. And then we've got Ghost Song coming out on November 3rd, so tomorrow. And then next week on the 8th, we are getting Football Manager 2023 on both PC and console, as well as Return to Monkey Island. They basically just stealth announced that this was coming to Xbox because we knew it was like a timed exclusive for Switch and PC, but we didn't know how long that was going to be, and then they just announced it in the Game Pass drop that it was coming to Xbox day and date on Game Pass, which is going to be sweet. But then on November 10th, the console version of Vampire Survivors comes to Xbox, which again, I know it's a game a lot of people love. And then on November 15th, we are getting both Pentiment and Somerville, which of course your ears do not deceive you. Somerville, they just announced the release date this week for that game, coming out on November 15th, same day as Pentiment, which is pretty cool. But Kevin, out of this list of games, is that what are you excited to play, if anything?
Football Manager 2023.
Yeehaw!
Let's go. I'm half joking, half serious. I did play 2022 for a few hours. I do like FIFA, but I'm a huge soccer football fan, whatever you want to call it. So I do jump into Football Manager every once in a while, play for a little bit, and then eventually just get bored because it is a lot of spreadsheet manager simulator type stuff. So I might, if there's like a down time for games in the next few months, maybe I'll play that for a little bit. But I think Pentiment is probably the big one, and I'm not entirely sold on the game. The art style really does not appeal to me. I think it's pretty off-putting, to be honest. Like it actively pushes me away. But the fact that it is coming from Josh Sawyer over at Obsidian, and it's a short game. It's not going to be some crazy, long epic, because it is mainly a narrative role-playing game. But I want to give it a fair chance. I don't know if I'm going to give it a fair chance on launch day because it comes out right around the time God of War does, and I will be neck deep in my PlayStation 5 at that point.
Don't forget about the true hero of next week's release is Sonic Frontiers.
I'm waiting for I want it so bad, but I'm also like, if I just don't buy it on day one, it'll probably be on sale in a few weeks, and then I can buy it after I'm done with God
Oh,
of War, because
100%. That's going to be like a black.
do want to play.
Sonic Frontiers is going to be a Black Friday game for sure at this point.
Yeah.
You know it. I know it. Everybody kind of knows it at this point. But I'm excited for Sonic, actually. That's the one I'm probably most excited to play next week. But
Me too. I'm excited for Sonic. And then Somerville, I personally wasn't ever really excited for this game. I know this is a hot take. I know a lot of people are like, this game was great. It's from the people that did Limbo, right? Inside. I didn't like Limbo or Inside. These games just aren't for me, and that's fine. I'm sure the game is going to be great for people that enjoy these style of games. I know a few people. Amon over I Saved the Game Media. He's really excited for this game. He thought it looked fantastic. So it's just not for me. But I'm happy for anyone that is excited for it.
Yeah, like I think of all of these, like the one that'll do actually critically the best is actually probably Somerville. I think that's a game that's going to review really well. But it's also one that I'm personally not super excited to play at this point. For the same reasons you, Kevin, because believe it or not, I also was not super into Limbo or Inside either. Inside, I was a little more into Limbo than Inside. But Inside, especially like the last half of the game, I'm like, I don't know what's going on anymore, and I just don't really care. So I almost felt like I'm like, well, why am I playing this game at this point? But you never know. Again, it's Somerville. I'll probably play it at some point because it is on Game Pass. But those games just don't really do it for me. So the one that I'm actually most excited about is Return to Monkey Island finally coming to Xbox, because that's a game that I know a lot of people love. And I got to play it a little bit before, but now I think I'm going to go kind of all in and play it on Xbox when it comes to Game Pass next week. So I don't know if I'll play it at launch, but I do really want to play it before the end of the year and kind of get my full playthrough with that going. But yeah, that's probably what I'm most excited about there. And then the following games are leaving Game Pass on November 15th. Football Manager 2022 is actually leaving on November 8th, so same day as Football Manager 2023. But we're also losing The Art of Rally, Fate Tactics, Subnautica, Next Space Rebel, One Step from Eden, and Superland. So those are all leaving on the 15th. Again, not a huge list of usually I'm usually there's a lot of games I usually pick out here to be like, hey, make sure to grab these while you still can. I don't really know anything about a lot of these games, so you're probably safe with this one.
I know Fate Tactics was all right. My brother played that. He thought it was all right he got bored of it. But I know One Step from Eden is kind of a Mega Man Battle Network inspired game. It kind of takes that grid style. It didn't really click for me. I tried it briefly, but I understood what they were going for. It didn't nail the same charm that the Battle Network series had for me.
Yeah, very, very, very different. But next up, we got Mudfish have announced Bioshock-like game Atomic Heart finally has a release date. It will launch on Series X and S on February 21st, and it will be a day-and-date game on Xbox Game Pass. Again, just throwing another game in February of 2023, because of course, Kevin, we need more games to come out in February of next year. Like, good God, there's too many games in February of next year, which is why, like, Atomic Heart looks kind of cool. We saw a trailer for this during, like, the Xbox showcase that happened actually at E3 last year, so a long time ago. And then I think it was at the showcase this year too, if I'm not mistaken. But either way, they've been closely aligned with Xbox pretty much since they've announced this game. It looks kind of cool. It kind of looks like Bioshock, but like a Russian version of Bioshock. But this is one where I think personally for me, it's going to probably get lost in the shuffle with February games of next year. But Kevin, what do you think about this? Are you excited about Atomic Heart?
Personally, no.
Go ahead.
Oh.
No, you were muted.
Oh, okay. Personally, no. Because it is, I have a lot of, I'm probably going to get a lot of like, what's wrong with this dude? But Bioshock wasn't a game I have ever really had an interest in playing. Gonna be honest with you. That's more my brother's territory. He loves Bioshock, and he's super excited for Atomic Heart because it is very Bioshock-esque. Everyone I know is super excited for this game. It's just, I don't know, something about it doesn't click with me. I think it looks visually stunning. I don't think it's going to get lost. I think this is going to be one of the big February games. I think people are going to ignore other games to play this.
You mean to tell me that they're going to ignore Final Fantasy Fiat rhythm for this game, Kevin? I don't think so. I think we need that Final Fantasy music game instead of this.
I think you might be the only one that remembers that game's coming out, Ryan.
That's
because
true.
I had forgot about it till you just said. I was just Googling when does Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe come out, and I think it's around then. So
I
that's
think it's
probably
next week. I think it's February 28th.
That's probably what I'm going to be playing around this time.
Yeah.
But no, it's awesome. But obviously, just another big game coming to Game Pass. Like, I don't know what to like. The next few months are absolutely packed. I have no idea how people are going to find time to play games. I might be moving at the start of the year. My whole 2023 game list. All right, I'm going to be off the pace. I'm not going to hit 82 games next year at this rate.
I think that's why you're banking so many games this year, Kevin, because you want to bank them for next year because you know you're not going to hit your quota for next year. So you got to make this year like the extraordinary year for games, essentially. Kind of like the Summer of George in Seinfeld for those that watch Seinfeld, that deep Seinfeld cut. But yeah, Atomic Heart looks cool. I know for me personally, it's just going to be tough for someone like me who's just so into RPGs around that time because we've got Octopath Traveler 2, and to your point, Kirby's out that time. The Final Fantasy music game. There's a bunch of different stuff that I'm really excited about just coming out at the same week. So it's kind of going to be a hard pass for me at launch. But the good news is it's on Game Pass, so it'll be waiting there probably, whenever I do have time for it, probably over the summer when things start to die down after March. It looks like, because now March is starting to fill up a little bit too with games. But anyways, last news story before we move on to your questions. EA have announced that they've entered into the rumored multi-title collaboration deal with Marvel, including a new Iron Man game that is being developed by EA Motive. The deal is set to last for at least 3 games, they said, and there's an option to extend it beyond that if, Disney likes what's happening with the games. So again, we've heard rumors about this Motive Iron Man game. We've never talked about it on the show before, though, of course, because we don't really talk about rumors and stuff. But I'm glad that they announced that this was coming along with this announcement. So now we can actually talk about it a little bit. And honestly, it's been a long time since we've got an Iron Man video game. You could play as him in Avengers, sure, but the last Iron Man game that we got was that 360 one from Sega. I don't know if you ever played that game, Kevin, but that game is straight trash. That game is awful. That's like one of the worst 360 games I ever played. It's real bad. So I am excited to see what they do with the character Iron Man, because they could do a bunch of different stuff. I'm not expecting them to, take the flying tech from Anthem and then use that to power this game. Although maybe
I wish they would.
But maybe they have something figured out over at Motive. But what do you think? Does this news excite you, Kevin? What do you think about this information?
Yeah, so it'll really depend on what games they make. I'm in on Iron Man. Iron Man's my favorite Marvel superhero, so I'm already like, they don't need to tell me anymore. I will give the game a shot no matter what because it is an Iron Man game. But I think the next 2 really have to be characters people care about, and I would like to see characters that we haven't gotten games before, like maybe like a Doctor Strange game, so some characters that are kind of less represented. And I'm speaking on the business end, I am so glad that Marvel and Disney did not make the mistake they made with the Star Wars deal and said, here, EA, you have it for 10 years. Instead, they're saying you have it for 3 games. So that way they can, go to other people, because we see Marvel going all over the place, giving games to other studios, like that Captain America Black Panther game from Skydance?
Skybound. But we also have the Marvel Midnight Suns coming out next month too. So
Yep. Yeah. So I'm really happy that they didn't pigeonhole themselves with EA like that again. And now we can just see, like, do these 3 games hit? Are they good? I expect them all to be single player games because I think we've learned at this point, like, stop trying to shoehorn live service elements into these style of games. But I'm excited. I'd like to see more, and I'm just waiting for more announcements.
Yeah, because apparently, like, the main reason, like, Disney actually cited to giving, EA this deal was the success of, a game like Jedi Fallen Order. and with what they've seen with Jedi Survivor. So I think that's what prompted this deal to come around. So yeah, I would imagine you're probably right about them being whatever games come out of this deal. I think they're all going to be single player in that vein of, a Jedi Fallen Order type of experience. That's what I'm kind of imagining for some of these games. And yeah, I saw a lot of people freaking out about this news online and being like, ew, no, this is terrible news. But again, like, the difference between this and the Star Wars deal is, like, the Star Wars deal was exclusive and no one else could make Star Wars games for 10 years besides EA. Like, this is just EA's allowed to make, Marvel games, but if they're not good, we're still getting Wolverine and Spider-Man 2 from Sony. We're still getting Midnight Suns. We're still getting the Captain America game. Like, we're getting all that other stuff still on top of this. So, more than anything, like, again, like, I feel like this is nothing but good news, I think. Because contrary to popular belief, I'm going to say a hot take, I think EA actually makes good games for the most part. They do make some bad games, every once in a while. They make some duds. And also, you can question, what they do with their sports games. Because I don't know if, the model that they have for sports games is really working at this point, especially with reviews kind of going lower and lower every year. But for the most part, like, most of the EA games that I play, outside of those, I usually have a good time with. So I am excited to see what games to come out of this. And yeah, like, to your point about, using Doctor Strange or another hero that, haven't seen before. Yeah, like, maybe I would hope they use heroes that make sense for video games that we just haven't seen in other video games, or we haven't seen in a while. Because, yeah, like, the last time I saw a Doctor Strange playable in a video game was Marvel Ultimate Alliance on 360 at this point. He could turn people into boxes in that game. That was one of his skills, which was great. And then he picked up the boxes and threw them at enemies, and then the boxes explode. Yeah, that was the whole thing. But
what a wonderful game.
Good God. Well, anyways, let's let some of our friends into the car with us. It is time for the carpool. And we've got some questions, of course. We got to start it off with your boy, Taylor, aka TPR, aka Trevor, who asked the question in the Discord, and he's just out for violence today. What's a JRPG hot take that you both think your co-host of today's show would vehemently disagree with? And I'm going to start to give Kevin some time to think, because I thought about this one a little bit before we started the show today. And I'm sorry to say this, Kevin, but honestly, this actually probably won't surprise you too much, because we did actually do an entire show about Tales of Symphonia before. So you kind of know my thoughts about that game anyways. But I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Tales of Symphonia is not the best Tales game, and it's maybe top 5 Tales. I would say it's probably number 5 in the Tales hierarchy of games. So I think it's a good game. I think it's a really good game, but I think there's better Tales games than Tales of Symphonia. In fact, I think there's 4 more Tales games that are better than Tales of Symphonia.
Which ones?
Tales of Xillia, Tales of Xillia 2, Tales of Rise, and then I think Tales of Graces F are all better than Tales of Symphonia.
Okay. I haven't played most of those, to be honest, especially Tales of... I don't know how you put Arise above it, because in my maybe because of the combat, but in my mind, Arise is very Symphonia inspired.
Yeah.
But so I'm like, I can't.
Oh, I'm just putting them in my own personal enjoyment, and especially like going back to the game now, because I actually went back and played Tales of Symphonia recently, like earlier this year, after our conversation, and it's fun to go back to, but it's just when I play that game now, it's definitely gone down on my list, mostly due to the way the game plays versus newer Tales games. Like I like the combat system more in just the newer Tales games, like Xillia and Xillia 2. Not only have incredible stories in them, and great characters, but also great combat systems. And I think Tales just hasn't aged, or Symphonia hasn't aged as well as I would have hoped. So that's why it's farther down on my list.
Well, I'll remember that when I'm playing my collector's edition on Switch and then my digital edition on Xbox next year.
I mean, I was going to get the collector's edition for Tales of Symphonia, but it was going to cost $200 to ship it to Canada. And I was
like, you guys got screwed on shipping. My shipping was $12, and I was like, yeah, all right.
It's kind of ridiculous. The Namco store is not cheap for Canadian customers. So that's why I usually don't go for a lot of those. Because I was also thinking of getting the Tales of Arise one as well, the collector's edition for that last year. And it was like stupidly expensive to ship it. It was also like $200 to $300 just for the shipping. And then the collector's edition itself was about $200 to $300 when you do the conversion. So it's like, casual, like $600 for it, Canadian.
Jesus.
Yeah. It's fine.
Yeah,
It's fine.
I remember Nagachaka. He was like, "Watch out for shipping." And I was like, "Shipping here is cheap. In the U.S. I don't know." That sucks. I would be furious
Yeah.
if my shipping was that.
When the shipping costs 4 times the amount the game costs.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that collector's edition, it wasn't even that expensive for Symphonia. Like I think it's like it's mostly like I think it's like $10 more than the normal price because it's mostly just a steelbook and some other stuff.
Yeah, it's a steelbook. Yeah, steelbook and some stickers or something. And I was like, that's all I really need. They can live in the steelbook. That's all I need it for.
Yeah.
What's a hot JRPG?
It's not even just a hot JRPG take. You have to pick a hot JRPG take that apparently I'm not gonna like or take offense to in some way. That's the tricky part. That's my two, like, it's one of those things where even though you know how I feel about Tales of Symphonia, I also respect your opinion to say it's your favorite Tales game. So just throwing it out.
It's also, I'm also trying, I don't remember your stance on, I go to Final Fantasy immediately, right?
Right.
And I'm trying to think what Final Fantasy take would Ryan disagree with. And I'm torn between two.
Okay.
And I think the one I'm going to go with and hope that this is not what you think is Final Fantasy 12 is awful. I do not enjoy Final Fantasy 12 in the slightest.
Is it because it plays like an MMO? Is that why you like it, or is it the story, or what? What about Final Fantasy 12 is bad, Kevin? I need to know the answer to these.
The combat system I do not enjoy. Like I don't like playing that game.
It basically plays like Final Fantasy 11 does. That's what the combat's like in that game. So if you like MMOs and early MMOs, then you'll probably like the combat in that game. But yeah, to be fair, that actually doesn't bother me because I think Final Fantasy 12 is okay. I don't love it. So
okay.
I totally understand the position.
I tried.
Just being like, okay. But yeah, I think that's the closest you're probably going to get anyways because I like too many things, unfortunately.
My other one was going to be Final Fantasy 13 and all of them aren't that bad.
But I've been saying that for years.
Okay, see, I'm glad I went with the other one then because I couldn't remember your stance on Final Fantasy 13. I was like, It's really not that bad, guys.
Yeah, if anything, I could have just swung for the fences and said that Banjo-Kazooie would make a terrible RPG, Kevin, and then you just
it would make a terrible RPG.
See? There you go. So
it's a platforming collectathon.
I mean, we're too similar, Kevin, at this point. That's what this whole experience has taught me. But let's move on to Blaze Knight's question, who asks, what have been some of your favorite games to hit Game Pass day and date? So a lot of times Blaze Knight, with games that come to Game Pass, especially first-party games, a lot of times we get them for review, so it's tougher for me to answer this question, especially with third-party releases. I don't honestly play too many of the day and date ones, if I'm being perfectly honest. The one that I was the most excited about, and the one I'm actually happy I played on Game Pass, which I think kind of fills in this question, is the Medium last year from Bloober Team. I enjoyed that on Game Pass a lot, and I'm glad that it was there as well, and that I didn't have to go and pay $60 for that game. But other than that, there isn't really I'm trying to think of another day and date game that falls in this category. The other one I think is probably Shredder's Revenge from earlier this year too, because having that just in your collection, ready to go for when it came out, I think was actually pretty awesome too. But what about you, Kevin? What do you think about this question?
I will second your pick for the Medium. Underrated. All right, I know people crap on that game. I really enjoyed that game. Obviously, A Plague Tale: Requiem is probably my pick for this year because I absolutely love the series, and this game especially is phenomenal. I think Blaze Knight, I think I've talked to them about this. But if I had to pick a different one, the one that surprised me was Outriders. Because it dropped day and date on Game Pass, and it's a game I wouldn't have played if it wasn't on Game Pass. And I actually, despite having my character deleted for having the loot glitch for 2 weeks, is a game I thoroughly enjoyed playing with a group. That game surprised me, and I had a lot of fun playing it. And it was an experience I would have missed out on if it wasn't for Game Pass.
That's a really good answer, is Outriders, because I know a lot of people, again, just would have missed out on that game or just passed it by if it wasn't for Game Pass. So, yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned that one, because I think that's a good pick. And likewise, I hated Outriders when I first played it. But then, as I've talked about on the show before, I went back to it earlier this year and actually really enjoyed going through the experience again, and then played the expansion and had fun with it too. So yeah, I think Outriders is a good one. Also, actually, I'm going to save this for the next question, because we've got another Game Pass question. This comes to us from Lockleth, who asks, what's an unsung hero / game / gem that you found on Game Pass that you played on a whim and loved? And I'm going to just throw it out there and just say The Sims 4, because I never knew that I wanted The Sims 4 on console ever. I didn't pick up The Sims 4 on console when it came out. I played it when it came to EA Play, and I had a great time playing The Sims 4. So The Sims 4, of course, is probably my unsung hero going forward. And I would say that's probably my Game Pass unsung hero. But Kevin, what do you think about this question?
So I have one that's on there right now, but I have another. I have two answers. So last year, if you had asked me this question, my answer would have been Dodgeball Academia, because I feel that game was completely, it was a hidden gem. Like I think it got a little recognition after a while, but it certainly didn't get the recognition I think it deserved, because I thought it was a really good, unique RPG. So I really enjoyed that. But for this year, and I think Lockleth has played this game, Tinykin is my hidden gem. This game is phenomenal. I played it after someone was like, hey, I think you would like this game. You like those platforming collectathons, and I was obsessed. This game is so much fun. It's so creative. You have like little Pikmin style companions that you use to reach new places, solve puzzles, move objects, and then it is the collectathon element of exploring this room, because you're a tiny little ant-sized human being, and just collecting everything. My only downside is I didn't get the 100% because the pollen, I'm missing like one pollen in every area, and I cannot find them. And I'm not searching through everything. They need a radar. Maybe they'll put one in. But that game, underrated gem, especially. And I think I've talked to Lockleth about that.
Yeah. I've heard you talk about it as well on the podcast and stuff too. So yeah, that's a good one too. Also, a game that unfortunately isn't on Game Pass anymore, but the other one that I thought of while you were talking as well was Cyber Shadow, which came out last year, which was published by Club Games. It's like a side-scrolling, like Ninja Gaiden-esque, action platforming game. Very old school in its presentation and music and design, but just really, 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 really fun. And unfortunately, less Game Pass a little bit earlier this year, but I played the heck out of that game. I really enjoyed it, and that was like a really good day one Game Pass gem that I think a lot of people missed out on because it came out around the time that another big game came out. I remember there was a big game that came out the same week as Cyber Shadow that I think a lot of people missed. But there you go.
My brother's in the chat, and he reminds me, Origami 2. Also, shout out Origami 2. I think that game was pretty buggy at launch, but it's a great experience now, especially co-op. If you like stealth games, that's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Well, anyways, Kevin, we got to get going. But before we go, first of all, thank you again for filling in for Sean this week. And where can everyone find you over at Save the Game Media?
Yeah, of course. Anytime, Ryan. Happy to be here. You can find me personally at the Muffin Mon on Twitter. It's 1-7I and 0-7A. You can follow us at Save Game Media over on Twitter. But go over to our YouTube channel, Save the Game Media. We have podcasts basically every single day during the week, similar to Carpool. But we got a few different shows. We got a Xbox, PlayStation show, obviously, but then we got the general conversation show and a movie TV show. So go over, check that out. We got a lot of fun stuff, game reviews, all the good stuff. Save the Game Media, and yeah, happy to be here anytime, Ryan.
Very nice, my friend. And you're not kidding. Literally, there's something like I go to my subscription feeds, like there's like 3 new things from them over there every single day. I'm like, what is this kind of pace going on there? But especially tons of shorts too. There's like, you guys put out like a bajillion shorts every day. So there you go. Kudos to you guys. As for me, you can find me on Twitter at Ryan Turford. You also find Sean Capri on Twitter at Sean Capri in case you want to see a person with a Jar Jar avatar, sometime next week anyways. You also find us on Twitter at Carpool Gaming, as well as on YouTube at youtube.com/Carpool Gaming on podcast services around the globe. So for Kevin Ainsworth, I am Ryan Turford. This has been episode 264 of the Xbox Drive, and we're out. Bye-bye. Bye.